Good evening, Zachariah Jackson, BASA News. We're here in Newark at Perry's Funeral Home, 34 Mercer Street.
34 Mercer Street, Newark.
And you guys have been here for quite some time.
This location here since February 1968.
Okay.
Yeah, we were on Waverly Avenue, 32 Waverly Avenue.
Which is
from 1958 to 1968, which is right in the back of Hopewell Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So tell me, Sam, what the funeral home? What was it? A vision of Orlando K. Perry Sr.?
Yes, it certainly was my vision. When they opened the funeral home, I was merely actually 7 years old,
okay,
living in the backwoods of Virginia.
Okay.
Orlando Perry was 25 years old, just got in mortuary school, and he decided that he wanted to be a funeral director.
Okay.
So Orlando K. Perry's parents were 100% behind him.
Mm-hmm.
We even had aunts and uncles down south that put up land and so forth to borrow money to help him open his funeral home.
Okay.
So Mr. Churchman Sr. Was planning on selling and moving down to Clinton Avenue. So Orlando bought his place at 32 Waverly Avenue and stayed there for 10 years. And the ironic thing about it is that when he decided to come here, people said, we don't need another black funeral home in Newark. You know, what are you coming here for? He said, well, I think I can make a go of the business, so I'm going to try it anyway.
Okay.
So his first year, I think he did about 30 calls, 30 funerals and so forth.
All right. And
most of those were babies. Then as it increased, it was like 30 calls this year, 50 calls the next year. And make a long story short, by the time he moved here in 1968, he was doing up to 300 calls a year.
Wow.
Right.
Let me ask you this right here. Now, in Mr. Perry Sr.'s family, were there funeral directors there before him?
Nobody in his family were funeral directors. His mother cleaned houses in the southbound Brook, Somerset area. His father worked in a chemical company and so forth.
So he was born here in New Jersey?
No, he was born in North Carolina.
Okay.
His parents moved to New Jersey when he was about 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
And then he followed them once they got here, bought a home, and got stable and so forth. But his whole desire, his whole life, was to become a funeral director. And that's what he did.
That's what I want to get at in this thing. Now, what make a person, Sam? This is Sam Arnold. What make a person say that I want to be in mortuary science?
Well, in his particular instance, he liked serving people. He loved people, to death. He saw funeral homes in the South with the big shiny Cadillac and so forth, decent buildings, person dressed up in a suit every day.
Sure.
That's what attracted him to funeral service. Now, what attracted me?
Yes.
I never, ever, ever wanted to be a funeral director.
Okay.
I wanted to get into politics. As a matter of fact, I went to Virginia State College. I was a political science major.
All right.
And I was going to either go to Atlanta, Georgia, or to California, Los Angeles, go to law school.
Okay.
And my sister, who I love dearly, passed away about 4 years ago, said, why don't you come here first?
To New
and
Jersey,
go
Newark.
to Newark, New Jersey. Stay with us, because we need help, and go to mortuary school. And then later on, you want to get into politics, we help you do that. If you want to go to law school.
Okay, so your sister was already in the mortuary science.
Well, he started in 1958.
Okay.
Okay. November 16, 1958. Him and my sister had another sister who was like a year and a half younger than Virginia.
Okay.
And that sister was in school with her at the Maryland
so
State.
Your sister was his wife?
Yes. My sister was his wife.
Let me tell you how they met. Virginia.
Let me tell you how they met.
Okay.
He had a first cousin who actually drowned in the pool in Piscataway, in the dam in Piscataway. My sister had a roommate who was my other sister. They were a year and a half apart, who were roommates with her, and she decided she wanted to quit school and come and get married.
Sure.
So she came to New Jersey and married a guy named John Ferris out of Piscataway, who was Orlando K. Perry's first cousin. Well, unfortunately, about a year or two after the marriage, he drowned out there on a boat in the dam out of Piscataway. So naturally, Virginia going to come and help her sister,
Sure.
her young sister, make funeral arrangements. And who was the undertaker? Except Orlando K. Perry. So Orlando K. Perry came up in this big, brand new, shiny 59 Cadillac.
Okay.
And picked him up to bring him to Waverly Avenue to make the funeral arrangements.
So let me interject one thing.
Right.
Now, you know, Piscataway is quite a ways from
Yes.
Newark.
Yes.
So
but that was his first cousin.
Oh, okay. That's
So
the first
who
one.
was
Okay.
going to bury his
Okay,
first
okay,
cousin except
okay.
Orlando?
Okay.
And the Perry family was very, very, very close.
Okay.
Nobody's going to bury the Perry Cruz family except Orlando K. Perry in this area.
Okay.
And that's the way it still is today, even though Orlando passed in 1990. They still come here because Orlando K. Perry was their first cousin.
Okay.
So all the people that passed away were in Bound Brook, Piscataway, in the Poconos, wherever they live, they come here and be buried.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, they helped made arrangements and so forth. And somehow or another, Virginia went back to school, she got a call. And it's from the undertaker, Orlando K. Perry, wanted to know if you could come down there, they wanted to go out. So, to make a long story short, about 6 months later, they got married.
Wow.
Now, she became a school teacher. She graduated a year later from college. She came up and became a school teacher.
Okay.
Taught at, I think, First Avenue School. I think the last one was at Shabazz High School.
Southside.
Southside High
Okay,
School. Then it
okay.
was the National Shabazz High School. And she taught there. And when I came here, she was still teaching in school. I went to Marchworth School. Got out in 1974, got my license in 75. And once I got my license, lo and behold, she said, you know what? I think I want to get my license too. I'm tired of teaching. So she left us for a year. We had 2 other sisters in New Rochelle, New York. She went stay with them and went to school in New York, American Mechanical Institute of Funeral Service, and got her license also. And then once she got a license, so forth, she came here, and she was more of a mother and so forth, and a cook than she was a funeral directress and so forth.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So we both got our license.
So
yeah.
both got your license and everything.
Right.
So, okay. So that's how you were actually pulled
into it. Right.
it.
Right.
And so, I don't want to ask you the enjoyment of it, but you know, how do you feel about?
Believe it or not, I think funeral directors enjoy being funeral directors. And see, people just think about that you're burying folks and so forth.
Sure.
That's one part of it. But I'm involved in probably too many nonprofit organizations.
Sure.
On the board of UCC. I was on the Mary Wheeler Cultural Center board. I was on the board of Louis Scott Roundtree, where they were doing the mansion down the street here and so forth. Day Nursery of Montclair. You know, the funeral service boards and everything. So I serve on a lot of boards and things. And we do a lot of community activity. For instance, last week, they had a fashion show. You know, Council President Mildred Crump.
Sure.
You know, who's now basically convalescent and so
Yes.
forth. Every year she have a fashion show. So one of the people she called to be a judge is, of course, myself.
Okay.
So, you know, each year I try to go down and be a judge in the fashion show. So we participate a lot in the community. And you get down there and you see a bunch of people that you know. She had about 500 seniors at the Robert Treat Hotel.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like a homecoming. You go down there and the seniors come up to hug you and talk to you and so forth. And it's rewarding, right?
Wow.
So it's not just burying people, you
Sure.
know. It's entertaining with people and so forth, and being entertained.
And being part of the community.
Being a part of the community, right. And Orlando K. Perry said, if you're not a part of the community, the best thing you do is get out of it.
That's right.
And you're not going to make a dollar for everything that you do. And I learned that very early on in my career. You don't make a dollar for everything that you do. And it's all right.
Sure.
You know, but this business has been very rewarding to me, and I love the community. Yeah.
Let me come from another angle about the funeral home. Now, you guys been here in this building since 1968?
February 68.
February 68.
I came here in December 10th, 1970.
Okay.
Right.
So 2 years later.
Right.
Let me ask you, who decided to make the funeral home look like this? Because most of the funeral homes we seen back in those days were houses.
Right. On Waverly Avenue, it was a house.
Okay.
Okay? No parking lot. As a matter of fact, they could park their 2 cars off the street and barely get the second car in off the street. Wiggum Funeral Home started, I guess, in the 40s and something, or whatever,
Okay.
and so forth. Now, the reason we came over here is not because Orlando K. Perry had the ingenuity to build a new funeral home, because, I mean, you know, times get tight. You don't make $1 million in a year and so forth.
That's right.
You got to build yourself up gradually, and it takes time.
Sure, sure.
So what happened was the city and the federal government came in and said, we're going to do low-income housing here. And guess what? You're no longer welcome. So you got to get out.
Waverly Avenue.
Out of Waverly Avenue.
Okay.
Because you see 32 now is low-income housing, nice housing and stuff,
Sure.
you know. In the same place where we left from. So we had to move out of there because the government forced us out.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, everything around us was tore down, around them, because I wasn't here at the time, was tore down, except for Perry Funeral Home. Orlando K. Perry went to court about 4 or 5 times and had to explain to the judge why he had left 32 Waverly Avenue, and he had left because this place had not been completed.
Sure.
Unfortunately, he got a contractor that, well, it's a long story and so forth, but he went through hell trying to get this place completed. Okay, and it cost a lot of money to get this place completed.
But what I'm interested in, Sam, is the design.
Design
of
the
this.
building.
The design of
Okay,
this building,
now-
because this doesn't look like what.
Right. Orlando K. Perry did his apprenticeship with a man called Anderson, Arthur Anderson, Sr. He had a place in New Brunswick where Orlando actually did his apprenticeship out of most of the time. And he also built a place in New Brunswick.
Okay.
Now, the place in Trenton, New Brunswick.
Okay.
The place in Trenton looked almost exactly like this place here.
Is that right?
So that's where he got the style from. And Mr. Anderson was like a second father to Orlando K. Perry. So this building was designed after Anderson
And
Funeral
if I
Home
went to
in
Trenton
Trenton.
today, it still look the same, or have?
Still look the same. Now, coincidentally, about 20, 25 years ago, they had a fire at Anderson Funeral Home. Mr. Anderson's wife convinced him to move to another location and not repair the building,
Okay.
even once they got the good insurance money. A church came by and said, Mr. Anderson, we will buy the building and we're seeking to rehab it. They rehabbed that building just like it was originally before the fire.
And it's still.
And that church is still there now.
Oh,
And
okay.
looks just like this building here.
Okay, well, I'm in Trenton one day. I looked at it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, because I remember years ago that after the rebellion, some people call it rebellion, some people call it a
Oh
riot.
boy. Those were terrible days
Yeah.
for Mr. Perry.
Yes. But this here was more like the shining bright light on the hill, because everything else was basically desolated.
Yeah. Orlando K. Perry, during the riots and so forth, buried quite a few of the victims. Okay. And I think it's one family that came in and said, we like to take pictures, we like to do this, like to do that. I guess they'll turn to send them there as evidence and so forth. Matter of fact, they had a professional photographer come by and actually take the pictures. And he was kind of threatened and harassed because he allowed the families to come in and do so.
Wow.
Even with the attorney's permission and everything.
Wow.
So he went through hell during the riots and things.
Yeah, yeah.
But he overcame it, and he overcame the fact that the contractor was stalling him from building this place.
Sure.
When they moved here, they had no heat. February now. They had no heat. They had no garage door in the back, which means his bedroom was in the back there, upstairs. So the air was coming in from that side and coming right up to the bedroom and so forth. We had no asphalt out here. They didn't even have gravel out here.
Sure.
For the first couple of weeks, it rained tremendously. And he had to have planks, and the family had to walk in and walk out. And we had construction heaters. You put the blowers on, and once the family got ready to come in for the funeral, then you turn the blower off. And once they left, you turn the blower back on and got ready for the next funeral.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So you guys have come a great deal.
Yes. From when he moved away from Waverly Avenue, he had a tremendous success in growth. He came, he was doing about 300 funerals a year. The next year, like 450, 500 maybe. And it went all the way up to 1,800 funerals.
A year?
A year.
Wow.
In the late 80s and early 90s and so forth. That was tremendous growth. As a matter of fact, it grew so fast that we really didn't know how to handle it.
Sure.
Now, downstairs is fixed up just like upstairs here now. When we moved here, didn't have money to fix up downstairs.
Okay.
It was just a whole dark place and so forth, cement floors and everything. But it got to the point we had to fix it up right quick in order to use that for layout rooms and so forth too.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, wow.
So it was kind of tough coming over here.
Yeah, for a minute you had William Street exit too coming in.
We still got William Street exit.
You do?
Yeah, we have a driveway to go to William Street.
Okay, because I came up William Street. And
right.
It's behind the school or?
Before the school, right before the school.
Oh, okay.
Street,
Oh,
right.
so, all
Let me tell you a story about that. That school over there belongs to St. Mary's. Okay. They went to the housing authority and bought that land there, which the housing authority tried to force us to take at a reasonable price, but land was kind of sick then, and he decided not to go through that process. It would have been a tremendous undertaking for us to do. But I was a young whippersnapper, and of course I wanted to do it. So St. Mary's came in, bought the land, and of course we were closed in here, had no way to get from here to William Street. So he sent me to the Newark Housing Authority, and I talked to a guy named Harold Lucas, who became the head of the Housing Authority, and we negotiated with St. Mary's in order to buy enough property to have an exit to go out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we bought that back from St. Mary's.
Wow.
And they were gracious enough to allow us to do so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so I missed it when I came up.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Okay, I see.
It's a gate there, and it says a big sign said Perry Funeral Home.
Okay.
There's a waterfall there. We're redoing all the landscaping now.
Sure.
So you probably didn't see the waterfall. That's going to be coming back pretty soon.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I know you keep the funeral home up. You're always doing something.
Oh yeah, we're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying our best. We just did the parking lot about 6 months ago. This summer we're doing the landscaping. We put a sprinkler system in.
Sure.
All the way around, including down the driveway and so forth. And I think next month we'll be doing all the lighting. We're doing the lighting outside. That's it.
Okay.
So I can afford this year. Next year I want to do the interior over again.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
A little bit at a time.
Right.
See, I want to do it. I don't want to borrow no money.
Sure.
My days of borrowing money is just about over.
Right.
I want to save up the money, then have the work done.
Have that done.
Right. I don't want to go through what Orlando went through back in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
I can't do that.
Well, okay. So now, tell me a little bit on the scientific side of mortuary business. In terms of, do we still embalm people?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Just about everybody's embalmed. The Jewish people don't embalm.
Okay.
And we do a few Jewish people a year. And the Islamics, like we have one, came in today. They'll come in tomorrow to do the washing and so forth. And she would not be embalmed. But yes, we do embalm people.
So when you don't embalm, then is there a shorter time frame that the body can be out? Or?
Well, in actuality, we have refrigeration now.
Okay.
So you can take your time. Normally, before we got the refrigeration, a couple of days, the longest period of time before you have to do something, either cremate or bury or do something with and so forth. But never had refrigeration. I got the refrigeration because during COVID, funeral homes exploded.
Yes.
I mean, one day we're doing 20 calls a week. Then the next week, you're doing like 60 calls a week. That was tough.
That's wow.
And you got to find a place to put them, and half of them will be direct cremation, so you have to embalm them. But in the meantime, you can't let them go bad in your care, and sometimes people could take 3 or 4 days to come from down south or the Midwest to come see mama before you actually dispose of them and so forth. So everything in the possible world went on that could go on.
That could go on.
So we ordered a trailer to be bought here, the refrigerated trailer, to put the remains in. And to be honest with you, I think they found somebody to pay the higher price. So they wouldn't even answer my phone calls.
Wow.
So once it kind of settled down, we were able to get the refrigeration, the permanent refrigeration, that'll hold about 30 people and so forth. Yeah, which we should have had all the time in the first place.
Sure.
But it took that spanking in order to make me decide to get the refrigeration.
That was some I often talked about the difference between March 1st, 2020
Yeah.
and April 1st, 2020 was just a totally different thing we went through with that COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had to adjust quickly.
Sure.
And we bought refrigeration all over the place.
Sure.
You know, to the point that it was really just horrible trying to keep up with where people were and so forth, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And people want to have quick funerals, and the city of Newark, they're going to have 5 people to come in and to view the loved one and so forth. Now, grandma got 30 grandchildren.
Sure.
How you going to tell them to do that?
Sure.
You can't say, come see grandma. And the 5 people that came in could only come in and stay half an hour, then go to the cemetery, then got to the point that the cemetery say, you can't come in.
Wow.
You know, you may come to the gate. We let the funeral home in with the driver in the hearse. Don't have nobody riding shotgun. Just the driver in the hearse and the funeral director to go bury the person. But you can't come in.
Oh,
It got that bad.
Got that bad.
And that was horrible. And trying to explain to people, it was horrible.
Yes.
And then I ordered 10 caskets per day, and, you know, the casket company called me back. Well, Sam, 6 of these caskets we don't have. We got a substitute. But I must say, I called every family and told them I had to substitute the casket for the one they originally chose.
Sure.
And nobody said no.
Okay.
Most of them said, you got to do what you got to do.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and that was confident to me.
Yes, 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 yes.
And it's confident to know that they really trust me and
That they,
my
right,
and
exactly,
so
exactly,
Right.
exactly. Well, you guys have been a great pillar in this Central Ward.
We try to be.
Yeah. Trying is not even a
Well,
thing.
try for the whole city.
You have
For the
been
whole
a
city,
pillar and a light in this community because I
Uh-huh.
could go back to 1977, 78, where it didn't look like this around here.
Yeah.
And I think that because Perry's was here, that gave birth to the idea of different places coming.
Right.
Metropolitan came because this used to be a field back here.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
you know what I mean?
All around us.
Right, all around the school.
All around
and
us.
everything.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Right. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And pride in the city and so forth,
Yes.
and trying to cajole them to make this place a better place and so forth. You know, even when St. Mary's came up here,
Sure.
of course, they want to know, first of all, was it safe on this side? They right down the street
Sure.
there. You know, would it be okay to come up here and so forth? What it's like, because we had the projects across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So we assured them, yes, you know, we could be neighbors.
Sure.
You know, then Metropolitan came here.
That's right.
We'd sit out the kitchen window every day and watch them build that place.
Sure.
So welcome. I'm telling you, welcome.
But you know, the design of this place,
Uh-huh.
you know, lift a lot of people up in this area because again, as I said, most of the funeral homes that we were accustomed to
Right.
were houses.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? Where this here had become almost like a community place where people could gather with comfort and not feel the thing of a house, but to feel still a home body. That's what you guys offer.
You know, I have to give kudos what kudos are due. People can have the wherewithal and want to do and so forth, but a lot of times we have to be made to do.
Sure.
Okay. When we're going to build this funeral home down the street, if you're going to come do funeral business in this town, you got to step up a couple
in
notches.
this area.
Right, in this area.
This area.
You got to step up a couple notches.
That's right. That's
so
right.
that helped Mr. Perry to stretch his neck out and try to do a decent
Sure.
building, a decent park lot and everything. It's because he had to compete with the Wigan Funeral Home.
Sure.
And that is a good thing, you know.
Were they friends?
Yes.
They were friends.
Let me say this. Yes, they were friends. Okay. The thing about it is, when I first came here at the age of 17, I was going back and forth to college to the age of 21. My main function was to go to dinners, go to political functions and so forth, go to pastors' anniversaries, go to community dinners and things to represent Perry Funeral Home. 1973 when I got to college. During that time, Mr. Wigan was going around too to all the same events.
Sure.
And what was he promoting? City National Bank.
That's right.
Everybody knew him for Wigan Funeral Home, but he was trying to promote the Black Bank,
That's right.
City National Bank. He did an excellent job of doing it.
Yes.
Make a long story short, every time we saw each other, just about every function we went to, we always sat together.
Oh, that was nice.
Yep, always sat together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he was the president of the City National Bank.
He was chairman of the board of the
Chairman.
City National Bank.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that bank was no longer there. If he was still living today,
sure,
it'd still be there.
Sure, sure.
Trust me.
Yeah.
That bank had a changeover once he passed away.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
See, I thought he was president, but he said he was chairman of
He was
that.
chairman of the board
Wow.
of City National Bank.
Wow.
He would still be there if he was there, because he knew how to maneuver.
Sure.
And he was able to attract just about every black in here to support the bank, including the city of Newark.
Wow.
And he did a fantastic job.
Yes,
of
yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
He was a good businessman, I must say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to have a building like he built
Sure.
back in the 1940s or early 50s and so forth, as a black person
Sure.
in the city of Newark,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
It
Two
takes a lot.
interests, yes.
It takes a lot, but you got to do those kind of things, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm concentrating more on Perry's today, but I would say this right here: Wiggums is on my mind.
Yes.
Because you two both,
Right.
it was a great thing seeing both of these funeral homes.
Right.
That again, I'll say it again, that did not look like the homemade
Right.
mama
Right.
funeral homes.
Right.
It gave us something when everybody else had left
Right.
the city.
Right.
It looked like no one else was coming back here.
Right.
They
Right.
had just basically left, pulled out, gone.
Right.
Right. But you guys gave that. You know,
Right.
you with your black and white cars, and then with that gold color
cars.
that they have.
Right. Right.
All right.
People still surprised today that's never been here when they come to the funeral and so forth, to actually come to the inner city and see a building of this magnitude.
That's
and so
right.
forth.
That's right.
I'll never forget, years ago, we had, up in the Poconos, we had a house call, so we had this white funeral for the Poconos to pick up the remains for us and bring it down here. And he came down, we're sitting here doing a little paper, changing paperwork and so forth, me getting ready to pay him. And he had to wait for me for about half an hour outside because I had a family making arrangements and so forth. And once he got to know me a little bit, he thought he could talk to me freely. He said, I never expected to see a funeral like this in City of Newark.
That's right.
He
I
said
can see that. I can see that.
And I knew exactly what he was talking about, where he was coming from.
That's right.
I never expected to see it in the City of Newark. Yeah.
It's a touch of class. It gave us something in this area, in this central ward.
And we're going to bring it up another notch, too.
Yeah.
For future generations to have and so forth.
Yeah.
One more notch.
One more notch.
Yeah. That's right. Orlando Perry built something for me. And people all the time give me praise and stuff for the things that I do and so forth. But they don't understand. It was basically, the foundation was laid when I came here.
Okay.
The only thing I do is work like a dog, which I'm still doing today, in order to keep it going and build up a little bit more and so forth.
That's right.
But the basic foundation was built.
Right.
Now, could I have started the Perry funeral home? You know, I don't know. I don't know. Because I saw him. Trust me, he had a tough time. I was here as a kid and so forth, 17 years old. But it was basically laid, so just carry on and so forth. And that's easy. That's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about cremation. That's
it's on the rise.
On the rise.
On the rise.
Is it less expensive than
Absolutely
burial?
Less expensive. Now, first of all, if you mention to a black person 20, 25 years ago about cremation, they'll walk at your office.
That's right.
Now they come to me, and when they sit down, they say, you never want to have mama cremated. I'm going to have a viewing and funeral and have mama cremated. Yeah. We probably do between 10 and 15 cremations a week now.
Wow.
It's that bad, yeah. I got a friend of mine who happens to be white down in the Toms River area. He does about 100 funerals a year.
Okay.
8 of them are cremations. On the 20 traditional funerals.
Wow.
Yes.
So now when they cremate, are they renting a casket or is the casket?
Well, they can rent or they can buy. The basic wooden cloth covered casket we sell for $7.95 is a casket that goes into the retort. But then you have metal caskets too that are rentals.
Sure.
That have an insert that when you get to the crematory, the bottom comes down, you pull that insert out and that goes into the retort. So you can buy them and you can also rent them too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way now, you have some cremation funerals that's running now $7,000 to $8,000 too.
Wow.
Yeah. Used to people figure, well, I do a cremation so for $4,000 or $5,000. But now they're getting fancy with the cremation and stuff.
And how long do it take to get their
cremains back?
Yeah.
2 days.
2 days.
2 days. Once they put the remains into the retort, it takes about 4.5 hours to do the cremation itself.
And how is that on the environment? Has anyone, is that
what?
The
The crematory?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, even us as funeral directors never go into the back.
Mm-hmm.
You go into a chapel like ours, we take the family, and they sit there with the remains and so forth. They have the committal, they have the last prayer. We all leave, and they take the personnel from cemetery, take the remains in the back and put them in the retort and so forth.
Okay.
You know, I've been back there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like a garage, nice and neat, and they got these big machines with the retorts, and it's got a door on it. You pull the steel door, open it up, got a little elevator, you put the remains up, slide it right in, close the door, push the buttons, and 4.5 hours you come back. It's all done.
It's all done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And cremations are really on the rise now. Yeah. In another 10 years,
Sure.
I predicted 60% of the people that pass away will be cremated.
Wow.
Right.
I know my family just had one cremation.
Oh, yeah?
Just one. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, my immediate family, my sister passed away 2 years ago down in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go down there over the weekend to see her because we knew that she was going to pass away. So on the way out, me and all my relatives were getting into the car. And my niece pulled me to the side, Uncle Sam, said, if Mama passes away, you know, and she was saying it politely, we're going to have a cremation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to say.
Wow.
I said, Terry, whatever you all decide, you know, that's what we have to go by.
Sure.
Because we basically handled it to somebody down there, but we basically did the funeral ourselves.
Sure.
And I was totally shocked. Because we had never had a cremation in my family. And then, when she actually passed away, you know, I'll never forget, I got the call about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I had the funeral director down in the area, pick up the remains, take it to his place, do the embalming, and we sent our people down there to do the final work and did the funeral itself, along with myself too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, my sister and brothers called me down in Virginia, down south, and all over, said, are they going to bury Lula where our father's buried, which is down in Virginia, down in the countryside. I said, Felicia, Terry told me a couple of weeks ago when we were there that they're going to have a cremated. Cremated? I said, yeah, we're going to have a cremated. Did you say I was not to? I said, no, I did not. Because obviously that's what their mother told them that she wanted, and they all agreed. So we have to go along with their wishes. Oh, Lord have mercy, Sam. I said, listen, that's their wish. That's their wish, yes. So we have to go according to their wishes. And I know Lula must have told them to do so. So we did. Yeah. Yep. So it was an initial shock to all of us and stuff, you know, but we got it. Because I just knew that once my sister passed, we're going to take it and bury it as close to my father in that country cemetery as possible. But I have another sister passed away about 3 or 4 months ago, and they buried her cremains, my sister Lou's cremains, right at the foot of my sister was buried 3 or 4 months ago. So they all right there together. Right?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're together in a way.
They're together.
You had, with the body or with the cremains on and so forth.
Sure.
I believe they were all together.
So they buried the
right at the foot.
Okay.
Yeah, put a little hole.
Because some people keep it in an urn in their house. Okay.
Right. Well, they had them in the container and so forth, but that container is now in the ground. My sister's buried here in her full casket, and the cremains are right at the foot, her foot. So forth.
Let me ask you. You know how sometimes for medical reasons or investigating reasons, where a person is buried and then the court will assume a body.
We've had that happen.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And then test it or whatever, for instance. But once you cremate, there's nothing to test.
Forget that.
It's done.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right. It's gone. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
No. But assuming remains, if some court cases, some come up, Yeah, we've done that, you know. Brought it back here, you know, the medical examiner take it, or whoever take it, and do the examination.
Okay.
And rebury the person, or reinter the person, and so forth. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Let me ask you this way: if when when that had happened, where you guys there actually was on the body, when they open the casket, is the body still intact?
That's a good question. It depends on what kind of condition you were when we put you in the ground in the first place. If you have edema, which means you're waterlogged and so forth, it's something about edema that destroys embalming fluid.
Edema?
Yeah, edema, a lot of water, excess amount of water in the body and so forth. When it mixes with the embalming fluid, it's somehow or another just totally dilutes the embalming fluid, it seems like. And go back a month or two later, you probably mush. Okay. Now, we dug up a person, the most vivid one I can think of is we had a person we dug up at Woodland Cemetery.
Okay.
On 10th Street in Newark. No vault. A casket, not a sealing casket, but a metal casket. And we had to dig her up because her husband was going to move back to Alabama, and he wanted his wife to come to Alabama to be where he was, because he was not coming back to Newark, New Jersey. We dug that woman up, brought her here. I could have put on our floor for viewing that night. You would never know she'd been buried for 20, 30 years.
Wow.
No vault.
No vault.
No sealing casket. Hair intact and so forth. You would have never known that she had been buried that many years.
So in a case like that, did the husband, for any reason, take a look at her after?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, but not here. He was already in Alabama.
Okay.
So when we got to Alabama, we shipped it to.
And she was buried how many
about
years?
20 years.
Oh, my
yeah.
God.
No vault.
No vault.
Minimum price metal casket, never sealing casket. She looked fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Look at Megan Evans.
Yeah.
Remember they did some
That's right. Yes.
But he was in a sealing casket and vault and everything. But he looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it depends. Yeah.
So his body looked
quality
like
and embalming and so forth and everything, you know, you can look good years later. You know, the Egyptians are the one that actually created embalming in the first place.
Okay.
And they mummified people in years, thousands of years. They
and
look
look
good.
the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
Now,
so it depends.
The rough box,
Uh-huh.
that right there is actually the vault. Is
No. Rough box is the rough box, which is cement. And the vault is cement, except it has an adhesive around it that causes it to seal airtight, waterproof.
Oh, so the rough box is not necessarily waterproof?
No, it's not waterproof.
Oh,
it's not waterproof.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why would a person choose the difference?
Just a preference.
Just a preference.
Like why would a person choose a Chevrolet instead of a Rolls Royce?
Right.
You know, their preference and so forth. Some people it don't matter. A lot of people that say, well, does the cemetery carry water? And I'll be honest with you, yeah. You know, I advise you to get a vault to put, because that cemetery, that water table is kind of high.
Sure.
You know, other cemeteries around here, we know are bone dry. And, you know, get the rough box, it doesn't make a difference. But in our cost, it's only $200 difference in the first place. So 90% of our people, if they have to get an outside container, they'll get the vault.
They get the vault.
Get the vault.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Let me ask you this right here. You know how you have on your license, you have organ donor.
Right.
And things. All right. Do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, sharing that work, and that's done before they even come here.
Okay.
Now we get in sometimes the bone is gone, the spleen is gone, the skin is gone, you know, whatever part and so forth is gone. And then of course we got the task of repairing and so forth. So that you never know once they get in the casket and so forth. Yeah.
But you guys don't necessarily deal with. So, all right. In terms of, do you guys actually take the inside?
Organs out? No.
Y'all don't.
That's done by the sharing network, and I'm quite sure they have a pathologist to actually do that. So it'd be reusable again. Got to be the expert to do that.
Oh, okay.
We just don't repair what they actually do, and put it together so that you won't know that the person never been tampered with, or you know.
So, so if you don't donate, is there insides still in you when you embalm, or?
Yes, mainly so, unless you have an autopsy.
Okay.
You know, and then they may take 1 or 2 organs for examination and so forth and send it to a lab somewhere. But I would say always 95% of them are back in you. You know, just treated the organs and things and put it back in you and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this right here. This is
Uh-huh.
a bit of, not a joke, but people have talked about this. Have you ever had someone in your time frame that came back to life?
No.
Never.
Never.
Okay.
Never moved, never did anything.
Oh, so you never
Never
had...
took the last breath in.
Oh,
never.
okay.
Never.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
All right.
No. And I've been here for, it'd be 51 years.
And you have
In
never
decent-
seen that?
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
okay.
sir.
Okay.
Wherever you put them the night before, we will see them the next morning.
Right.
Unless somebody's come in and moved them and so forth. Never.
So no one ever got
Never.
up and all that?
No,
it's
sir.
just like a myth thing.
No,
that
sir.
people talk about.
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
No. No. And setting up and all that kind of stuff, that's a myth.
Yeah.
No.
So they don't just do all
No.
that.
And you know what? I'm not a Bible-toting Baptist and so forth.
Sure.
But I believe that once you leave here, you ain't going to want to come back here. Yeah.
Because the glory of heaven.
Yeah. Listen,
is much better. Yes.
I think it's a beautiful place to be.
Sure.
You know, nobody wants to die to go to heaven,
to-
but everybody wants to go to heaven and stuff,
Sure.
you know.
Sure,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a real
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
place to
yeah,
be,
yeah.
you know.
We try
And
to
I believe that, yeah.
do everything we can to hang here.
Hey, listen, live happily ever after and everything.
Because we know here, though. that,
Right,
you know,
ooh.
we know here. We don't
And here's getting tough, ain't
Yeah, it's getting tough.
it? And the mentality of
Yeah,
folks,
yeah.
sometimes you wonder, are the people animals or what?
Yeah.
You know, don't value human life at all.
No.
And that's bad. And I hate it for it be a lot of times in our community and
Yes.
so forth.
Yeah.
That, and I must say,
Mhm.
people say funeral directors have no heart.
Mhm.
Let me tell you this, they do.
Yes.
And most 99% of my friends that are funeral directors got a heart.
Sure.
Do we like to see young people get killed and so forth? No. Are we horrified by it? Yes. Do we want to do something about it? Yes, we do. That's why a few of my friends get involved in the community like
Yes,
me,
yes.
or into politics and so forth.
Mhm.
We bury a lot of DIFAS kids. A lot of DIFAS kids are abused and stuff.
Sure.
Okay, when the parent used to, the social worker came in and made all the funeral arrangements. Now, somehow or another, this law has changed, and they allow the parents to come and make the arrangements and so
Okay.
forth. And it just see the caliber of people that actually come in, and you sit back sometimes and say, how could you do that?
Sure.
I'm telling you, really.
Yeah, it hurts.
You
it
want to
hurts.
just pull them to the side. How could you do that child
Right,
that way?
yeah.
That's your child, your flesh
yeah.
and blood.
Mhm.
You know, the things that I know that you did, I just can't go with.
Sure,
I'm telling
sure,
you.
sure,
And I
sure.
try to get them out of my face as fast as
As
I
you
can.
can. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, as a
inside.
child.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. And another thing, too, making off the subject a little bit, with the situation in Ukraine and Russia,
Sure.
you know, Putin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, bombing up hospitals.
Oh my God. Could kill
Okay,
that.
children's hospitals, okay, schools,
Mhm.
clinics. Come on, how can you do that?
No heart.
What kind of human? He's not really a human being.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
But I'm so, you know, I said on Facebook a few weeks ago when I was preaching a sermon, I said, you know, when you go back to 1917 after their revolution up till today,
Right.
and the things that they have accomplished in terms of space travel,
Right.
supersonic aircrafts, submarines that go to the depths of the ocean and explorers and things like that.
Right.
I don't understand how the people could go along with him in this barbarism that he's doing at this point of challenge.
Right.
Don't that question who they are as a
Yes,
people?
it definitely does. It definitely does.
Yeah, and they got
Definitely does.
and
It's just like with the gun control and stuff. You know, the Republicans, I'm a staunch Democrat, but I respect a lot of Republicans and so forth. John McCain was one of my heroes and so forth. And coming to New Jersey, Tom Kaine, I really like Tom Kaine a lot. Never voted for him and so forth. But if he had ran for president, I might have voted for him and so forth. Because I think he was and still is a decent human being. But how can you not have a main issue to be gun control, seeing all this that's going on in this country? You know, does a gun mean that much to you?
Yeah. Are you that frightened? Or what are you frightened of? You know what I mean?
You know, and people, their mentality and stuff, you know, and mental illness is really something now.
Sure.
It's going rampant. You know.
But is it? Let me say this right here, getting off the subject of mortuary science. Is it really mental illness, or is it just things is just
it's
not
a combination
going their
of
way?
It's a combination.
Because I often say that if a person is crazy, as they say they are, then they would just jump on anybody because they wouldn't have a judgment. But then why is it that in their crazy state they find someone
segment of people,
right?
Just like the Jewish people and so forth,
right? Exactly.
You know, or the Asian people,
exactly,
or the black people,
right?
You know, yeah.
Well,
see, this world now is not pure anymore. Okay, sometimes I see some of my friends and so forth, and I can't tell what race they are.
That's right.
All mixed up.
Yeah.
You know, I go down south now, my countryside of Virginia and so forth. I ain't never seen so many mixed marriages in all my life, or mixed kids in all my life.
Sure.
It's not pure anymore. So how are you going to signal out any particular race?
Sure.
It's all different.
You don't
it's
know who's who today.
You don't know.
Right.
You don't know.
You don't know. Not that it matter, but
no, it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter.
The only thing that should matter is that we're human beings.
That's right.
And that we're Americans.
That's right.
Those are only two things that really should matter to a person.
I want to touch on, since you brought that up, when they talk about diversity and how they spend so many dollars, so much money to put diversity in this company or that company. Is it a sham, Sam? I mean, at this point in challenge, don't we know that everybody's a human being? When I can take my saliva and put it in a container and send it out, and they can tell my DNA.
Right.
Now, this is 2022. Now, 1922, it was different because we wasn't charted. We wasn't, you know. But
they're
today,
going to make DNA for things that happened in the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
And prove people innocent. Yes.
Right. So now we know everybody. We know some people don't fly.
Right.
We know some people can't jump in the ocean and just go all the way down without oxygen and things of that nature. You know. In 1922, we didn't know.
Right.
But today, I think that it's a sham when people say we need diversity. How much do you need to know that this person is a human when if they drop a piece of blood,
right.
You know what I mean? We can tell that who they are.
Right.
You know, they say, okay, this is a black American.
Right. It shouldn't matter in the first place.
No, it shouldn't matter in the first place.
You know, if somebody, listen, God created me.
That's right.
In His infinite wisdom and so forth. He created you, so I should respect you because He had the wisdom to create you too.
Yes. Okay?
So I'm supposed to respect you, just like I'm going to be respecting myself.
Yes.
So I don't see how anybody can bring a broad brush with anybody.
Sure.
As to who they are, what they should be, and so forth. It shouldn't happen that way. Yes. I'm telling you.
That's what I wonder about that.
How people still got the misconception of how black people are. You know, what we are and so forth. But yet and still you can get a Barack Obama to come about.
Sure. I think that the misconception they have about us is the fact that we are survivors, and I think that, you remember
survivor, a little or nothing.
Yeah, I will say this right here. Remember they used to say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud.
Right.
I think that we need to say it loud from whence we come.
Right.
That we deserve everything that we get.
Right.
Whether it's a Chevrolet or
as long as you work hard.
That's what I'm talking about. Work hard. Yes.
Now, I'm against people being given a lot of stuff.
Sure.
Shouldn't be handed to you.
Sure.
You should actually work for it. Just like I believe that every American, regardless whether you're a man or woman, or black or white, or Asian or Jewish or whatever, should serve 2 years in the military. I was in the military for 23 and a half years, and it taught me nothing else except discipline.
What branch was you in?
Army. Army National Guard. Okay. And it taught me discipline and how to deal with a bunch of people.
Sure.
I was in a bunch of leadership roles and everything. And I had a bunch of whites, a bunch of Spanish people, and a few blacks and so forth. And I learned to deal with all of them.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I would go to meetings sometimes, be the only black there, be 30 whites, and the only black there. And guess what? You better perform exceptional.
Sure.
If not, guess what? They could say, see that black? You shouldn't have that position, and so forth. So guess what? I made sure that I did perform exception.
Yes, yes.
Because I wanted to walk out there and them say, where that black man come from?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he?
That's right. That's
Tell
right.
me. Yeah.
There's some things that we have to, I think that we have to hone in on that we have neglected or overlooked for whatever reason.
Right.
But we all deserve a part of this pie. If
Right.
this is a pie, we deserve it.
Right.
And I think that, somehow we need to communicate that to the public that
we got to communicate to our young people.
Yes.
I mean, our days, whatever we've done and so forth, I'm not going to say it's over yet and so forth.
Sure.
But we've done quite a bit.
We've done,
okay.
Yes,
we've done quite a bit. So it's up for them to take on that baton now and carry it to the next level and everything. We got to get to these young people and say, listen, you got to put your nose to the grindstone.
Right.
You got to work, keep your nose clean, okay, and do it. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like some people come to me and stuff and want a job. I said, if you can't find nothing else, why don't you go to Burger King or McDonald's or something, get a job.
Sure.
Or get 2 or 3 jobs to make up for one until you can do better. I don't want to work at McDonald's and stuff. Hey, when I was in college, I had 3 jobs.
Wow.
I was waiting on tables at Virginia State because all the blacks, instead of going to a hotel to have their functions and things,
Sure.
they would do it in the kitchen at Virginia State campus.
Okay.
So I got the guys together dressed like me, so in a black bow tie, and we would wait on the tables, right? I would paint people's apartments and things like the dean of students or the teachers when they had to be painted. I was an ROTC, so I did everything I could. Oh, and I was a tutor counselor.
Wow.
From my second semester of my freshman year until my senior year. Second, when I became a sophomore, I became the head tutor counselor for the last 3 years and so forth. Right.
So
that's right.
You've done your just due.
Well, try my best.
Try your best.
Try my best. And we need more young black people to do that. There's nothing out there in the streets except for trouble.
That's right.
There's nothing in drugs except for trouble and trouble life. There's nothing in selling drugs except for soon death.
That's right.
To come some funeral home or whatever and so forth. Or go to somebody's jail.
For a long
and I don't
time.
think jail is fun.
No.
I get claustrophobic being in here sometimes.
Come on now.
I'm telling you. I want to do what I want to do, not what somebody tells me to do.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm telling you, I'm looking for young black people now to take over. I got 3 or 4 funeral homes that's not really to really retire,
Sure.
but they want to sit back a little bit.
Sure.
Because they're my age and they work like a dog for the last 50 years.
That's right.
So I have some young black person, and I tell them, you know what? You come work for me. You be here 5 or 10 years, and I see the good in you. Guess what? You may be able to own it one day.
That's right.
Nobody else in the family. I'm like the Jewish man. Can have a good business and so forth. Can have 10 kids. But if none of those 10 kids are satisfactory to me to carry the business on, guess what? They're not going to have it.
That's right.
Sell it to somebody, give it to somebody else. I work for the chairman of the board of BASA Furniture Company in BASA, Virginia. The old man was getting ill, so he was ready to retire and so forth. So looking for a new chairman of the board. He had 2 children, Jane Spillman, whom I worked for in their house, and J.D. Bassett II. Okay? J.D. Bassett II, the whole family saw that he was not really fit to run the company and so forth. So they took Jane Spillman's husband, Robert Spillman, as a chairman of the board. And guess what? He got mad and left the company. Altogether left his family the company and went somewhere else. Robert Spillman came as chairman of the board, built it up.
Wow.
Did a fantastic job.
So you got to pass it on to someone that has the desire.
Someone that got the ingenuity to do it, to carry on what you built up. Not just choosing, oh, you're my son and so forth. Well, you come on in, you can take over the business and stuff now, and 2 years later it's gone down to nothing, to ground zero. No. And that's the problem we have with blacks.
Sure.
We give it to our children who ain't worth for who. No, sir.
Try to build them up.
If you don't qualify for it and stuff, you don't get it. I'm sorry.
I remember years ago when my mother told me about Father Divine, that a lot of the estates that he had, that people would will to him or sell to him, because their kids was not fit to
Yes.
carry on. So they would
Yes.
let him have it because he knew that he had the people to manage,
That's right.
to work it and to build it up.
He would do some good with it, you know.
And that's a hard thing for many of us to learn.
Listen,
But it's a lesson that we have to.
when I'm gone, I want the Perry Funeral Home to become bigger and better
Yes.
and carry on for another 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years or so forth. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I don't want to die because I died.
That's right.
I want to carry on.
Yes.
When the land of Cape Perry closed his eyes in 1990,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? I had 20 years on the belt with him. As a
Sure.
matter of fact, I was getting ready to leave after 20 years, too. That's what I told him when I first came here. Whether I was done or not, I don't know. But I said 20 years I'll be here because I figured my nieces and nephews, they would be of age that they want to say, okay, Uncle Sam, see you later, get out the way and stuff. We're going to go ahead and take over the funeral home.
Sure.
Thank you for your service and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was getting involved in the government or politics and so
Sure.
forth. 20 years to the date that I came here is when he died. So I said, you know what? We got to keep this place going.
That's right.
I mean, I saw him cry many days because the way things were going and so forth, and how tough it was.
Sure.
So you know what? I'm going to take my little young self and try to make it a little bit better.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's a
And
good thing.
fortunately, I had the people that he had working for him to work with me to make it better.
And y'all all pulled together and made it.
That's
made it
correct.
better.
That's
Okay.
correct. 'Cause number one, we were proud to have a black company that
Yes.
we could work for, that we could call our own and so forth.
A
and
black
call our
company
shop.
with class.
Right.
Let me add that.
Yeah.
Because as we mature on this stage,
Right.
as black people,
Right.
there's some black people we're just not going to deal with.
I know.
And that right there is a conversation that's going around.
Right.
You know, that the blacks are murmuring that, hey man, I can't deal with this guy.
Right.
So
I know what
we,
you mean.
it's one thing to have a black business, but it's another thing to have one of class and respect and things of that nature that actually doing the job.
Right.
We need you to do the job, and you guys have been doing the job from Orlando K. Perry and Senior on to you, and and so we love you. We love this whole thing here.
And we love the community.
Yes, yes.
And I must say, Orlando Cape Perry is always pro-black, and so am I, and so forth. But pro-black that's going to do the job right.
Do the job. We need you to
I
do the job.
recommend quite a few black businesses, not too many left now, in this area to friends of mine, so including white friends and so forth too. And if I get a complaint, guess what? I'll call them right quick.
That's right.
So you're not recommending him to you or such and such happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And normally they straighten it out. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So I thank you for the interview. Is there anything that you would like to say?
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is that I'm hopeful for the next generation or two to come up and really make Newark what it's supposed to be.
Sure.
Better than what it used to be and so forth. And we can do that. We don't have to have the outsiders to come in. We can do it with the people that we have here in the city of Newark.
That's right.
We got the leadership downtown that's trying to make Newark a fabulous place.
That's right.
We can be better than New York City.
That's right.
A little smaller, but better than New York City.
right.
But we just got to work hard to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that 20 years from now, I might be in a nursing home or whatever, that I'll be able to ride through the city of Newark and say, hey, my people, whatever color you are, actually built the city up and made it better.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the interview. And
Thank you.
I want to take a moment to thank my cousin Albert Lewis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Professor Albert
Professor
Lewis,
Dr. Albert Lewis.
Yes.
For helping me get this interview with you. You guys are great pillars in this community. And I'm happy to just be in the company.
All
So
right.
God bless, and cheerio.
All right. Thank you.